What's up, folks? So, Young Shepherd here, and we promised you a discussion. All right, we promised them a discussion.
Yes, we did.
And so we didn't want to prolong it. We didn't really want to, put it off a little bit. So we decided that we were gonna come together and talk about a very, very, very hot issue.
Piping hot.
Very, very, very tough topic. The issue that we're gonna be discussing tonight is youths and the church. What's the disconnect? We're speaking specifically to address this particular issue. That, listen, here's the reality. There are young people in the church. I'm talking about maybe preteen, teenagers, young adults who just feel disconnected from the body of Christ. And not only so, but there are a lot of young people who might just feel disinterested in the gospel or in the things of God in general. And so we just want to talk a little bit about that. We just want to talk a little bit about that issue that needs to be addressed. So with me, I have my friend, and we were making a little joke before. I have my friend, the illustrious Cidnie Spencer. So yeah, I have my friend with me, Cidnie Spencer. I met her on the side of the road.
Homeless.
She was one of those vagrants. Y'all probably don't even remember. You know, there was a vagrant walking up and down Market Street.
It was me.
It was her.
Oh gosh.
So how about? Just kidding. She was not a vagrant. For those of you who probably don't know Cidnie, she was not a vagrant. Okay, that was a joke.
Joke, guys.
Some of you saints gonna take that a little bit too serious. Okay, so that was a joke. So how about introduce yourself a little bit, and then I'll talk a little bit about myself, and then you go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I just want to say, first of all, thank you, Dexter, for having me on your channel and for this whole discussion thing.
You're welcome.
My name is Cidnie Spencer. For those of you who don't know, some random facts about me. I'm 22, born in the best month of the year, November.
It's actually October, but
he tried to get in November, but it didn't work out. Not everybody can be in the elite November club.
I didn't want to be in November.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
And I met Dexter, a long time ago.
Let me tell you the year. We met in 2014.
Almost 10 years.
That's 6 years. What is that?
That's close to 10.
Well, yeah, it's close to 10.
It's close to 10.
We met in 2014.
You have to exaggerate the situation.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years.
So when I'm talking to my friends, right, on that same point, when I was talking to my friends, I'm trying to say, boy, when such and such happens in such and such a year, I always say something crazy like 1965. Because if I say 2015, it's not going to sound
good.
Exactly. So I say, boy, back in the 60s, man, we used to do this. But anyway, continue. What is about you?
I play instruments. That was just so random. I play guitar, mainly guitar. I dabble in a little bit of piano, dabble in a little bit of drums. And I sing as well. She's
an amazing singer, guys. She's an amazing singer. For those of you who heard Cidnie sing, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? All right.
And random facts about me. I've always wanted to be a dog because I want people to rub my belly. Ask my dad, it's the truth. Okay, that's enough. Okay. Before we jump into the video, the discussion, I wanted us to just answer a few, icebreaker questions, just to make it fun and lighthearted before we get into the deep things of the word.
Lo más profunda.
Oh my goodness.
I speak a little bit of Spanish, so.
And I speak a little bit of French. Oui, oui.
She also did Spanish too, but she failed.
I did. Okay, so it's okay. I don't need it.
Okay.
What's your pet peeve? What's your number one pet peeve? What's that one thing that just grinds your gears?
I think every time somebody asks me that question, my answer is always immaturity. So that's kind of deep.
It really is.
That's kind of deep, right? It immaturity in every single way. But if I were to think about something a little bit less significant, that's hard. Probably one thing that's my pet peeve. Have you ever been washing the dishes and somebody
Come on.
You're almost done, you know.
Come on.
You're almost finished.
Almost done.
The last fuck. You're scrumming it. All of a sudden, your sibling walks into the kitchen and lays a plate and a cup. Oh my gosh. That is a big pet peeve of mine. Might not be the greatest, but just one of my pet peeves. Seriously. It's like, what about you?
That bothers me too. But it's if while I'm washing the dishes, they come and place the stuff in my water. No.
Oh no! No!
Just leave it on the side. I got this. I don't need you to put it in my water.
Don't put it in the water.
Just leave it on the
please.
Side. I'll come to it.
Please don't put it in the water.
But my number one pet peeve that can just send me from 0 to 100 is littering. Don't litter. Don't litter. Y'all nasty. Don't litter. Like, and I see somebody like throw something out their car, just like, I literally just like, I can't see. I just get so angry.
So the thing about it is, like, how can people just have the garbage in their hand,
And there's a trash there.
wind down their window, and just throw it? I
can't.
What kind? Hello, if you're doing that here,
The Lord is watching.
the Lord is displeased with you. Repent.
Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Let's jump into the video.
All right, so we're gonna start. We're talking about youths and the church. All right, just in case you don't know what this channel is about, you don't know me and Cidnie. We are both followers of Jesus Christ. We love a piece of Jesus. All right, we are well. You'd probably call us Christians, although Christian was a name termed for the Christians in Antioch as a kind of a mock name. But anyway, that's a long discussion. We follow Jesus. We love Jesus a lot. And so we just want to start a little bit by saying, how did you, I'll ask you this question and then I'll answer after. How would you say that you came to faith in Christ? We were talking a little bit about this before. And it was kind of like, I know some of you saints who were born in church can't even remember when you got saved. So, and I know that's a little bit of it for you. So what can you like kind of describe what that looks like for you?
For me, I would say I would describe that as the moment when I took Jesus seriously. Because I grew up in the church, like there wasn't a major transformation, like I used to do drugs and be on the street, and then Jesus came and dramatically changed my life. It wasn't that. For me, it was when I shifted from religion to relationship.
Okay.
That was it. That's the thing. That's what I needed to think.
That's deep.
Right. I mean, I knew, you go to church, whatchamacallit, you do all the churchy stuff,
wear
Sunday
church dresses,
all that stuff. You don't do this, you don't do that, and anybody can follow rules.
Yeah, true.
Anybody can follow rules, but Jesus is not looking for a bunch of rule keepers. Why? Because if he wanted that, he would have created us as robots. He would have, free will would have been out the window, and we could have all been here just obeying him. But he wanted those who desire relationship with him.
Definitely.
And would seek him out, and I think that was a shift for me. Because I can't really exactly pinpoint the moment that I became a Christian, but I think when the Lord opened my eyes to see that it's more than just about doing things, but it's more about being and understanding who you are in him.
So it's more than just doing Christian things,
right?
But it's an actual change about who you are,
and realizing that you can't change yourself.
Okay.
Because I think we were discussing this earlier, that behavior, God isn't looking for behavior modification. Anybody can modify their behavior. You can stop smoking, you can stop having sex, you can stop whatever else. People stop doing drugs, but the heart is still wicked.
But if you ain't born again,
come on now. You understand? It's about realizing that there's nothing that you can do in your power to save yourself. It's all about Jesus doing the transforming work in you. And from the inside out, the change will occur.
Definitely. Woo! So we have a packed night for you, as you can see. So I would say that my story is similar in the sense that I grew up in church. Well, most of you know I'm a pastor's son, so I grew up in church as well. Right? Yeah. So I grew up in church, the whole vibes. I never felt particularly pressured by my parents or anything to be perfect. I always tell people that I only knew that my father was a pastor when we got to church. Like I only knew because when we were home, it's just like, this is my daddy. This is daddy. You understand? And I feel like my sister would probably say the same thing. I have one sister. But obviously we're not born saved. Okay.
Come on.
So if you well, I don't know if some people might have a little bit of bad theology on that, but you become a Christian at the moment you place faith in Jesus Christ for yourself. And you repent of your sins and you turn away from that sin that resides on the inside of you as a result of, you being born a descendant of Adam, just to give you a little bit of deep theology there. So I had to come to a place where I had to recognize that, listen, if I didn't get my life straight, that I would end up facing the judgment and wrath of God. So there was a point in time, I probably pinpointed around the age I was 11, 12, 13, around those ages. I can't remember the exact moment. Around those ages, I just really felt strongly, and now I know it was the conviction of the Holy Spirit, where I just felt strongly that, dude, if you don't get right with God, you're going to hell. You're going to hell. That's where you're going for your sins against God, because you are born a sinner. You see, we don't, and that goes back to what you were saying about the transformation that has to occur, because we don't do sinful things, and that is what makes us sinners. But we do sinful things because we are sinners. And so what has to happen on the inside of us is that what Jesus said in John chapter 3, you must be born again. So that transformation is what Jesus does on the inside of us. Right. So we believe on him. We trust in the fact that he is able to save us, that his cross was sufficient to completely cleanse us of our sins, and we have eternal life. That's just an amazing thing. That's just an awesome thing, and that's why we love Jesus so much. So that's kind of where my story is. So after I felt that conviction, I responded to the Holy Spirit, and from then on I was just saved, and I've loved him ever since. The next question I want to ask is a little bit similar. What would you say has been one of the most encouraging and heartfelt things for you about following Jesus? I'm gonna go first and you can answer after. So I think for me, the thing that really amazed me about Jesus was just his grace. Was just the fact that I remember being, how old was I? 13, 14, in the Word of God, in the book of Ephesians specifically. And just seeing all the things that God did, because Ephesians chapter 1, it goes deep into all the things that God does for us in Christ. And I just remember thinking to myself, and definitely it was God at this point, I just felt like, how is God so loving to forgive me over and over and over and over and over? I was amazed by that. I was just taken back. And I think that is specifically what just made me love him all the more. What about you?
One is an event and one is a lesson that I learned.
Definitely.
As a part of the event. In 2015, I went with a group of friends to Trinidad on a mission trip, and the Bible came alive to me so clearly at that time. We went to this church, and there was this gentleman in the cathedral, and his neck was like down here. And some of our friends were talking about how they went and they prayed for somebody and the person received healing. And I was like, okay, because I'd never seen it. You know it exists. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. But I think sometimes there's a disconnect between theory and actually seeing it happen.
Seeing something. Yeah.
So we prayed for this guy, and in my head, I'm like, I would like to see this healing happen. And like his neck started to move. Now you can tell the difference between somebody's neck moving versus somebody moving their neck. And like I could see his neck moving, and he even looked surprised. And I was like, wow. It was a mind-blowing thing. And I just ran into a corner and just started to cry. Jesus. Because I'm like, wow, God, like your word just came so real to me in that moment. That then took me on a journey to do a discipleship training school, and another lesson that I knew in my head, but it finally like connected from head knowledge to like heart knowledge, was the Father's love. God does not love me because of anything that I do. All my righteousness as like filthy rags before him. But he loves me because of who I am. A child, a daughter of the Most High. There's nothing that I can do that can make him love me more or make him love me less.
Come on.
but just because of my status in him.
Hallelujah.
You understand? That is one thing that's like, wow.
That's
some
it.
people out here trying to perform for God. And trying to make God love them more. God already loves you because of who you are, not because of anything that you do. But that was one thing that was just amazing for me.
That is a life transforming truth right there. A lot of people need to hear that. But we could preach about that all night, okay? But we got to get deep into our discussion here. We're already kind of some time in, but we want to get straight to our discussion. I know a lot of you probably by now you're wondering, man, what are they going to say? What are they going to talk about? What are they going to discuss? We just want to address the elephant in the room. And here's what it is. Listen, that in the church, the reality is that there is the presence of young people who are either disinterested, they feel disconnected, indifferent, don't really care about what's going on. You understand? In church every Sunday, grew up in church, all of that vibes, but not really into it. We want to talk about some of the issues or some of the problems that are causing that. And I want to say, I just want to give like a disclaimer. We're going to be very honest. Okay? Especially this one. She's going to be very honest.
I'm an open book. Like, just, yeah.
Very honest about some of the things that are definitely going on. Now, I just want to put this other disclaimer out there. We love God's church. Okay? We love God's bride. I am not on the bandwagon with people who see the issues within the church, and as a result they want to disown the church. They want to only bash the church. There's a place for correction, there's a place for rebuke, there's a place for calling it as it is. But if you are the person who the only thing you want to do is talk about all the problems and then you stay out from the church without trying to bring any sort of change or help, then this conversation is not necessarily for you. But we're talking to the people who definitely see these issues and want to be impact and want to bring change and want to help what's going on within God's body because we care about it. Jesus died for the church, for crying out loud.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? So let's talk a little bit about this.
Let's talk.
I wanted to balance the conversation. Because a lot of times we can speak about the issue of young people and then we can address all the external issues that affect a young person not coming to Christ or not being involved in church or not wanting anything to do with God. We can talk about all the things outside of the individual that's causing them to be the way that they are. So we can talk about what the church is doing or isn't doing. We could talk about how people in church are to this or to that. We could talk about programs that aren't in place for them. We could talk about
a lot of stuff.
We could talk about some of the issues that are causing them to kind of draw away. We could talk about, family background, the parental situation, and all these things. And we don't want to trivialize it at all because these are big issues. These are necessary issues to be addressed. But we want to address first of all the internal issue. That there is an internal issue, an individual issue that not only affects young people, but is affecting the entire human race and the fact that we were born sinners in the first place. What do you think about that?
I think that's a really great point because a lot of times there's a bashing of youth, but and like you said, being able to pinpoint the external things that may contribute to why they may be indifferent or disinterested in coming to church. But the fact of the matter is, it's not a youth issue, like you said. It's a humanity.
It's a humanity.
Issue.
That's it.
The fact of the matter is, we don't want God. In and of ourselves, we don't want God. No part of us wants God. The spirit and the flesh are at war all the time.
Yeah.
And we have to realize that in order for us to see a change in terms of them wanting to be interested, not just them, but everyone in general being interested in things of God, there has to be a heart change first.
Surgery.
We have to, a heart surgery, we have to acknowledge that it's a sin issue that keeps people in general disinterested in the things of God and not just what the church is or isn't doing.
And that's what we're saying, that as we were born rebels. So you don't have to teach a baby to disobey.
True.
You don't have to teach a baby to lie. You don't have to teach a baby to steal. You don't have to teach a baby to hide when they do something wrong.
Yeah.
You don't have to teach a baby those things because we're born in sin. And so we are born as people who don't want to run away from our God, want to run away from our Creator. And so we need to address that internal issue. Now, how that sinfulness might manifest itself might look different for different young people.
Yeah.
You understand? So a lot of times we see the external. We see that person is addicted to drugs. That person is fornicating. That person has the wrong relationships. That person is smoking. But the issue, the real internal issue is first of all a heart issue.
The heart, yeah.
And so we're going to talk about the solutions in a little while, but I just wanted to add some balance to the conversation. The main reason why young people don't want God is the main reason why everybody don't want God naturally is because we're born that way.
Yeah.
You know, and it takes the changing power of God to make a difference in us.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about
the external.
Yeah, the external things. That I think that's more so what people are thinking about. You know, so I think that one of the things that may be external, before we get to the issue of the church and the church's involvement in it, let's talk a little bit about parental involvement. You know, I'm not an expert or anything, but I see patterns.
Got no keys, neither.
Yeah, we don't have any children.
No.
Okay. But we can see a pattern really happening with those children who, at least the most times, and we're not saying that this is a formula to get your child saved or anything, because you know we have a lot of parents who have definitely tried with their children and the children have gone astray. You know, but we're saying that there's a pattern that occurs where when children are growing up being taught the things of God and their parents are modeling and exempling before them what it looks like to be godly, what it looks like to love Jesus, what it looks like to serve Jesus, what it looks like to be committed, oftentimes, we're not saying all the time, but oftentimes you see that same patterning or that same desire to be like Jesus in those children. So maybe one of the external factors might be the fact that young people aren't necessarily in homes
Godly influence.
that have godly influence. What do you think?
I would say yes. I mean, of course, that doesn't mean that someone who grows up in a Christian home
is going to be saved.
Is
yeah,
going to be
that's
saved.
Not what it means.
They might have a form of godliness, and they might, you
Deny
know,
the power
come
thereof.
on, it's
Deny
true.
it, yeah.
I mean, like, not to call out you PK, but
No
a lot
problem.
of preachers' kids sometimes feel the pressure because they're in the limelight of their father or their mother, whoever it is. That they feel like they need to behave a certain way so that people think that they're okay with God.
And that can cause them to
Exactly.
to
and
go
because
astray.
they've probably felt like a spiritual bondage of sorts to this, to live up to this standard. They end up being the ones that rebel the hardest.
Yep.
Because I've tasted, I want to taste, and I want to see
It's-
what the world has to offer.
It's true.
You understand? And so we have to first realize that, of course, the home does play a role. Sometimes in the negative and sometimes in the positive. For me, growing up in a Christian home, I would say that contributed strongly to it. I can think about my other siblings. At the time, my parents weren't saved, but they eventually became saved, and my other siblings would have seen the change in them.
Right.
And there was a point in time when they all were just like helter-skelter. But at some point, God just grabbed them. Because what you learn as a child, it stays with you.
Right.
It really does stay with you.
It does.
Even no matter how hard you try to stray away from God, if maybe you went
There's
to
certain
Sunday,
things that will
that
stay.
they will always stick with you. It will always stick with you. God always, I don't use the word remnants, but God always use the remnants of a memory there for you to, and He will draw you in. You understand?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Powerful stuff. And so I guess that's one of the external factors that we want to speak about. So how about we encourage the parents a little bit who here's the reality. Some parents are struggling to do this. They want to disciple their young person in the things of God. The young person that's in the teenager that's in their house. Yet sometimes they might feel not equipped to do so. Sometimes they may not feel like they don't have the knowledge to do so. Let me just encourage a parent out there. Love them. Love them. Just love them like Jesus would. And tell them why you love them in the way that you do. Not just because they're your child. Yes, because they're your child. But secondly, because that's the way that God loves them too. Model for them what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus. And so I can remember a specific text of scripture, 1 Peter chapter 3, where this is a different context in the sense of it's referring to wives and unsaved husbands, right? So the Apostle Peter is saying to the wives, model godly character, model godly conduct in front of your husband, so that your husband could be won over even without words.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when your husband sees the way that you respect him, and the husband sees the way that you submit to him, although that's a bad word in some people's minds, but it's a beautiful thing if you understand it well, okay? When your husband sees how you love him, when your husband sees how you forbear with him, you're forbearing with him, how you're patient with him, even though he's messed up and jacked up. You understand? When your husband sees these things, there's a possibility that your life could be the tool that God uses to completely turn that guy's that life around. And so the same thing with young people. If parents, you might not be able to say it like Pastor. You might not be able to say like Cidnie. You might not be able to say like me. You understand? You might not be able to explain the deep things of the gospel. You know? But you just might be the only person that your teenage boy might want to run to when he's fallen. Are you there with me? So I think that I sound like I'm preaching. Yeah. Are you there with me? You know, but that's definitely a thing.
But you brought up a very important point there. I think a lot of young people are turned off sometimes because you're telling them you should not X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But when they see you doing X, Y, and Z, it's like, how can I trust what you're saying? It's like you have to, leading by example is so important. Not only to parents, but to Christian leaders and other members of the church, or just Christians in general, leading by example. You know, old people like say, do as I say, not as I do. It's more do as I do and not as I say, because sometimes our words, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, do as I say, not as I do. Okay, if you tell me, don't do this. But we're watching now, we're 97%, you know, non-verbal communication and 3% verbal. We have to make sure that our actions are speaking much louder than our words. You ever hear the quote that the only Bible people might read is your life?
Is your life?
Is your life? How is your life modeling Christ? You know, and especially to a young person, they're in a very critical stage in life. They're not kids anymore, and they're not adults. They're just in that awkward in between, and they feel awkward. Misunderstood. They feel
nobody understands.
My
parents don't understand me.
You know, they're going through some awkward phases. Yeah. Their body is changing. All of these crazy things are happening, and they just need somebody to just understand them. Yeah. And I think sometimes adults forget what it was like to be in that phase. You know, and can be and can be hard on them, but try to empathize for a moment, like what it's like. Let me tell you, right, adults, being a teenager then is not anything like being a teenager or a young person.
It's different.
There's so many more influences coming at you. Social media especially plays a
you see this thing? This thing is the devil.
It's the devil. Let me tell you, right? Like the devil just we're not saying that the phone is a devil. We're just saying
guys, that. Come on, y'all know we're joking, but
things are so much more accessible through this little. My phone is small. They like to jeer me about it, but through this little phone, I mean, like so much more. What would have you had to maybe sneak and hide on the bed before? You can just boop 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 and
you just
find
do it on your phone.
Exactly.
And guess what? If you're a parent and you're walking in and they're doing what they're not supposed to do, guess what they can do? Just click black. Click exit.
And they know the phone better than you, so don't think you're gonna find out what they were doing.
Exactly.
Just saying. You understand?
It's so, man, it's just tough. So when it comes to external factors, I guess that's also a point too, in terms of the manifold, I'm using big words, but the manifold abundance of temptations. You understand?
Readily available at your convenience.
Yeah. So like, if you want to sin, you can do that easy.
Yeah.
It's not hard. You understand? For some of you folk who maybe grew up before time without internet and cell phones, you had to walk to the person's house you were going to do stuff with.
Come on.
You had to walk, or you had to beg a ride, or you had to go far in order to do what you didn't want to do.
You had to make an effort to do it.
You had to make some kind of effort. No, it's so easy.
Just lie down in your bed and ask whoop-de-doop-de-doop.
Jeez.
Not that I
That's okay. You know, and so we just want to move on in our conversation. These are some external factors. If you are thinking of any more external factors that could be affecting how young people are responding to the things of God, could be affecting how young people are responding to the gospel, you can just lay it right before us in the comments or wherever you want to put it. You can even inbox us personally. She's Cidnie Spence on Facebook. I'm Dexter Laurence Jr. on Facebook. On YouTube, I'm Young Shepherd.
And I'm Cidnie Spence.
And she's Cidnie Spence on YouTube. You can talk to us. All right. So we want to have those type of conversations. I think that another external factor that I want to address, which is extremely important, and sometimes we miss it, and we've alluded to it a little bit before, is the reality that a lot of young people just don't understand the gospel. They just don't know what the gospel is.
That's a great point. But it's not just young people though.
In general, right?
Just like Christians in general, the gospel is very simple. And a lot of times, I think leaders teach the Bible like we already know. You never know who's in the congregation, and there are lots of people who have been in church for years and don't understand simple doctrinal, foundations, like what is salvation,
what is grace,
what is
like, faith.
Right. So you have to teach. So like newborn, like babies, especially young people, like I mentioned in that phase, you have to break it down for them. Break it down for them.
Break it all the way down. That's so true, because I always use this example. I went to a youth meeting and I was doing some ministry. I was invited to come and speak to a bunch of youths, right? So I went and, we were just doing our thing. We were just having some conversation with them. We were being raw and all chill and everything, just talking about the things of God. And one of the girls there, she said that she feels as if she can't be a Christian yet because she has to wait until she's more mature, and she has to wait until she stops making the mistakes that she's making. And so I'm like, that's a completely different understanding of what this Christianity thing is all about. This Jesus thing is all about the reality that we can't stop. We can't do it. We cannot do it. We cannot be better. We cannot fix ourselves, just like what you were alluding to before. And so young people, and the reason why there's this misunderstanding is also what we alluded to before, is, oh my gosh, I'm going to hit y'all with a big word, with a big phrase, okay? I like big words. But there was this pastor who he was speaking, and he describes it as moralistic therapeutic deism, okay? And in simple words is that the only thing that you're teaching the young people is a bunch of do's and don'ts. But the Bible and the gospel is not stop doing this, start doing this. Stop doing this, start doing this. Stop doing this, start doing this. The gospel is you are probably going to keep doing stuff, okay? You are going to keep failing, all right? You are going to keep messing up. But Jesus died for your failings. Jesus died for the moments when you feel so guilty that you can't talk to anybody else about what you did. Jesus died and took and bore our guilt and shame on himself out of love for us, and that's a love that doesn't change. And so I think clarity about the gospel is what not just young people but people in general need, but specifically our young people.
Right.
Also too, before we move on to some possible solutions to some of the problems that we're speaking about, also too, I think it's necessary to apply the gospel in a way that's not watered down, but that is relevant to the young person. So like there was this one pastor who was explaining, like I listen to a lot of pastors, guys, okay? So I'm always going to be saying, there was this one pastor who said, so there's one pastor who said that, how are you going to explain, there's a little girl, she's 14 years old, she's going to high school. The only thing that she cares about is people liking her, right? That's the only thing she cares about. She wants people to like her. She wants boys to be attracted to her. That's the only thing she wants. How are you going to explain Jesus Christ crucified, dying on the cross? How are you going to connect that to the thing that she cares about the most? So in essence, you have to make the gospel and not, I even want to say make the gospel relevant, because the gospel is relevant.
Always relevant, yeah.
The gospel is relevant. You know that old song, Jesus is the answer for the world today.
Yes. It's true. It's true.
You know that. Above him there's no one. But that's the reality of the matter. You know, anything else you want to say before we go to some solutions?
There was something else I wanted to say. I can't remember. Okay.
So y'all need to pray for Cidnie that she remembers in the name of Jesus. Let's go. So we spoke a little bit about some of the issues. Man, we didn't mention one of the biggest issue. One of the biggest issue that we want to address is the attitude of members
that's what
in
I was
the
gonna
church.
see. You remembered my thought.
The attitudes of members in the church towards the young people, and this is probably what a bunch of you were waiting to hear too. Like, like when were they gonna say this? You know, so talk about that.
As we were talking earlier before we started the video, I was saying a lot of times the youth feel very discouraged because they feel like there's a pressure on them to behave and act a certain way. And then when they do make an effort to maybe do something in the church or be helpful, nobody says anything. Like literal crickets. But as soon as she's scared to shut. Oh my god. It's like everybody has something to say. You weren't trying to applaud me or affirm me when I was making an effort to do something. But as the moment I slip up, you have something to say. No offense, Daddy, just have to call you out on this because I tell you all the time, I don't like to wash no dishes. I am aware. I don't like to wash dishes. When I do wash the dishes, you don't say nothing. When I don't wash the dishes, you just like easy pick it up. Still love you. Love you. But the fact of the matter is the youth need affirmation.
Definitely.
They need you to affirm them. They might not be hitting the mark. They may not be getting it right. But if every single time they fall or they make a mistake or they miss the mark, you're gonna just pound at them, it will completely damage their self-esteem. And that's just something they're struggling with as young people. Self-esteem. They're trying to figure out where their place is in the world. So the least that you can do, say, you know, Alice, you did a very great job this morning. Keep it up.
Definitely.
That can just make you get to know them as individuals. When's your birthday? Would you like to come over for lunch? How is school going? How is exams? Get to know them as individuals and stop trying to make them a project. We need to fix this and this and this. You can't fix them. Jesus is the only person who can fix what's going on, because like I mentioned, God isn't looking for behavior modification. Sometimes we're just looking for people to look the part. Anybody can look the part. But we need to, what we desire to see is that heart change that causes the person to change, their actions change because of what's going on the inside. Right? So just affirm them, love on them, get to know them as individuals, and trust in God that He will do the transforming work in them, because nothing you do or say is going to make them saved. Period.
That's good, because we want to address specifically how are especially the older generation within the church relating to the younger generation. I have a question later down about that. But that's an issue, and if you're a young person listening to this right now, and you're in a church where you feel like disconnected from your church because of some of the people in the church, that's a real issue. That's a real thing that's happening in churches today, right now, where young people are in the church and they might be on fire for God.
Come on.
But they feel pressed down and, like you said, discouraged and depressed. Why? Because they feel like the older folk are just being judgmental
and overlooked,
and they feel like they're being ignored, you know. And so we want to address specifically. We want to just convict you, but at the same time encourage you. We want to tell you, listen, we have to do better for our young people. We have to do better for our young people. We have to do better. And we're not saying in any way, before, don't forget your point. We're not saying in any way that we personally have been perfect, or we personally have done all that we could do in order to make sure that these young people are on the right path, you know. And we would admit some of our own shortcomings as relates to relating probably to the other young people in our church and some of those things. So we want to be humble about that.
Right.
But at the same time, we want to address the elephant in the room. Some of the folk at church don't make you feel like for come back.
Facts.
That's just the
Facts.
reality. And because there needs to be again a demonstration of the gospel. The gospel is a message of love. And so if you show the young people that you love them, not just you love them in the sense that you want to fix all the things about them that's wrong.
Yeah.
But you love them, you want to know about their education.
Yeah.
You want to know what's going on with them at school. You want to know how they're feeling today. You understand? You want to know how they feel about what they did. Maybe they did a dance in church. How do you feel about that? You understand? And you just might find that moment by moment they might start to open up a little bit more to you, and you start to realize, whoa, this person is really insecure, or whoa, this person has some serious anger issues, this young person has some, and so you begin to care and have compassion towards them in a way that you didn't have before. You know, so there needs to be that sense of compassion, love, and patience. That modeling of Jesus with the members in the church need to model Jesus for the youth that are in the church. Okay, that's what needs to happen. That's what needs to happen.
The point before I forget, it's so important to just love them, show them that love, and take them under your wing, i.e. discipleship. Right? Discipleship doesn't have to be them sitting down in a classroom and this is the doctrines of the Word of God.
Right.
Jesus took them disciples under his wings, and everywhere they go they had food. They just lie with one another, you know.
Laugh.
And then when you get to know them, they will open up to you. You open up to them. A relationship is formed, and then you can share. You can.
Go ahead. Let me let you finish.
And see, the thing is, if you're not showing them love in the church, they're gonna get that love somewhere else. Some drug dealer out there is just waiting for some young man to come on the block. And guess what? That drug dealer don't really care about him, but he would take him under his wing, show him the ropes, show him the ropes. Give him little money. Some loose woman out there is waiting to take a young lady on her wing and show her the ropes and show her to get a man because guess what? They're spending time with them. They're relaying knowledge to them. And they're showing them. They're literally mentoring them. So my point is, if you don't take the time to show them Christ-like love through mentorship, somebody out there is gonna show them the wrong mentorship, and then that is where it's gonna just go downhill from there. You understand that?
That's a big
I think
thing.
mentorship we think is something difficult. It's basically spending time and relaying your knowledge to them. And you have to be open. Sometimes I think these older folks, they're not open to sharing. I want to know how you were. Tell me your shortcomings.
What were you
Tell
like?
me what were you like?
What
I want to know
you
that
struggle with.
because you're coming off perfect.
Right.
And I know you ain't perfect. I know when you were a little fast young girl when you were you were a little slick young boy when you were. So tell me those things. If you open to me, I'll open to you.
Yes. Jeez.
You understand? So come on.
Goodness.
Yeah.
That was deep.
If you don't do it, somebody else
is gonna do it. Oh my gosh.
Whether directly or indirectly.
On that same point, I was having a conversation with my mom today about a friend of mine who, in essence, just to give a long story short, she was in search. She was in search of identity. She was in search of belonging, and guess where she found it? In the Rastafarian tribe.
Child.
And if you're a Rastafarian and you're listening to this right now, I just want to let you know that we're not discriminating against you. We don't hate you, but we just believe differently from you. We just don't agree with you. And so what happened with that particular girl is that when she went to the Rastafarian community, when she was there, she felt loved.
Imagine that.
She felt loved. She felt like she belonged. She felt like she accepted. And so they were giving her what she was looking for.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And it kind of, it's just really like a lesson almost like a heartbreaking lesson, saying, I want to be that. I want to be the arms of Jesus extended towards somebody, saying, let me love you like Jesus loves you, not as an entity unto myself. I'm not trying to draw you to me. I'm trying to draw you to him, just showing you how much he loves you. You know, that's just, to me, it's just a story that shows how people are impacted by love.
Yeah.
Just seriously.
Yeah.
And so those are kind of the solutions that we're offering. Love them, get to know them, build relationships with them. Yeah. And we spoke a little bit about the consistency before we started recording. So what we were saying is that oftentimes we would start something up. We would come hot and sweaty and say, yeah, we want to get the young people. We want to encourage them. We want to do all the things like what we were mentioning before. But then you're doing all those things and then
you just
stop.
follow it, yeah.
You stop for whatever reason. You know, maybe situations in your life. And let's be fair. Stuff happens. All right? Stuff does happen. All right? People do encounter, like youth leaders do encounter some tough situations where they have to take a break. Okay? It happens. But where we can avoid that, where we can plan for that, where we can put contingency plans in place for that, we should do that, because the young people need a sense of stability.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely need a sense of stability.
Right.
So we just want to do now some specific questions. Some of you would have given me some questions, and I just added on some of the questions that I think people might be thinking and asking. Some specific questions about specific situations and things. So we just want to ask these and see if we can be of help to somebody today. All right, so here's the first question. So youth, again, I'm using the hot and sweaty phrase. So youth, I kind of rephrase some of these questions to suitable for the recording. So youth come hot and sweaty.
I just can't with that.
Why do we use that? Why do we say that? What's the point of saying?
I've never heard that.
You've never heard that before?
Nope.
You've never heard somebody say that before?
Next.
y'all have heard that before, okay? So you've come hot and sweaty.
I can't. It's beyond me. I can't. Anyway, let's go ahead.
And they come passionate with new ideas. They feel like God is leading them to serve in various capacities, and their new ideas are shut down.
Next.
Right? What should young people do?
The fact of the matter is, the old people don't want to change. Period. They're stuck in their ways. We're accustomed to singing how great thou art every fourth Sunday when the moon is at 90 degrees in the sky. You understand? They just don't want to change. I mean, like, how do we combat tradition and all of these things? I mean, what I always like to say is that if you don't get with the times, you're gonna get swept away, right? I'm not saying that every wind, everything that comes, you know, culture-wise, that you have to adapt to it. But you have to realize that the youth that you have in your church are the future of the church. And if you don't allow them to start to bringing their ideas, you're going to lose them completely. And then you're going to end up with just a bunch of 90-year-olds in the pews. And then eventually that church is literally going to die out. So it's important to make them feel included. And just, I don't know what else to say. But
and we don't want to be unbalanced. We do want to add some balance in saying some of the ideas you need to shut down.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Because they're young.
Yeah.
All right. They're young, but sometimes the way that you do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
how you say it. How you say it.
You need to be like. Maybe there needs to be a conversation like, you know, Cidnie, I appreciate and I see the passion that you have and I really appreciate it, but this is why such and such can't happen right now,
or we're not in a place right now to do it, you know. But
or I'm so sorry that we can't do this for you, but maybe we can find some other way to get you involved in this area.
Or do some more brainstorming and get back to us with another idea, you know, something like that, you know.
But keep thinking. We just want to. Perhaps those conversations are better than a young person coming and saying, Pastor, I have this idea, or you know, youth leader, I have this idea, and then you just saying, no, we don't want that. You understand? That's not for church.
No.
None of that.
We've been doing it like this for the last 15 years. It's working out fine. Like,
no. Oh, you want to come and try to change the church? That's what you're trying to do? You're trying to make us into something else? You understand? So, no. Just no.
Approach is important.
Just no.
Don't do that.
That alone will cause a young person not to talk to you for the rest of the year.
For the rest of life.
For the life. Have mercy.
Understand?
Okay, so I think that what would be good for those young people who are passionate, hot and sweaty. Okay, we're using it. We're using it.
I have my head out.
Hot and sweaty. Okay. You're passionate, you're on fire in the Lord, you have all these great ideas. My encouragement to you is, well, first of all, my first thing is I'm very cautious. So my first advice to somebody is never going to be leave your church.
Ooh, child.
That's never going to be my first option towards somebody. Because as much as you might feel discouraged, you're not the only one. All right? And also, I think we have to bring the conversation outside of the person as well, understanding that the church is not the place for you to be a superstar. And the church is not necessarily a place for you to be to shine your individuality.
Right.
You know,
it's
it's about the body.
Right.
It's about the body. So I want to encourage you. If you can't serve necessarily in the way that you would like to, perhaps find another way.
Serve based on the needs of the body.
Yeah, see what people need. See what does that old person in the church actually need? What does your pastor actually desire? What is your pastor trying to accomplish? You know, that he feels like he's so stressed out about. You know, so become a person who's willing to put yourself in the holes where there are holes instead of trying to create more holes.
Ooh, child.
You know?
Good point.
So become that type of person. You know, that's my encouragement to the person who's hot and sweaty.
Oh my gosh. I think at this point he just loves to use that phrase.
So here's the next question. I am a young person in the church. Our pastors and leaders encourage us as young people to live a life pleasing to God in every way.
Come on.
Yet, their own children aren't doing so. And they are still being allowed to be involved in ministry. How should a young person deal with what seems to be a double standard?
Wow, that's a heavy one. I think a lot of times it's not just a PK and a pastor issue. It's just like a parent and child issue. A lot of times parents are just completely oblivious to what's going on in their children's lives because they're not trying to spend any time with them. They don't you know when you're young, you tell your parents everything. When you get to like teenage years, your friends now become your priority. So you're not trying to tell your parents everything, and you're trying to figure out who you are. So a lot of times the parents really don't know what kind of lives their kids out here be living in the streets. You know, so maybe ignorance. So for me, hearing that question, I don't want to. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I would like to believe that it's a situation where the pastor does not know the type of life that his child is living outside of the home and outside of church. If that's the case, then maybe you should probably approach your friend respectfully, not the pastor, but the friend. Say, hey, I see that you want to be involved in church, but if y'all have that kind of relationship, because if somebody came up to me, they don't know me from nowhere and want to come tell me something, you can only speak exactly. You can only speak into somebody's life if you have a relationship with them. That is true, right? Because I'm not about to take rebuke from some random stranger because you don't know me. You understand? But I would take it more lovingly from someone who knows me. Talk to that person. If not, then you might say, hey, pastor, I think that you should, your daughter or your son, they're really nice and I see that they're in church, but
the way that we speak so important.
It's really, really important. Because maybe if they really just don't know, they just don't know. So don't think it as their old just because it's their kid, it's a double standard. Maybe they really are completely oblivious to it. And I don't know how to just you understand what I mean?
So that's good, because again, for the entire conversation we've just been saying we want to be balanced. All right, so that kind of benefit a pastor needs that, because a church leader needs that.
They don't know everything.
They don't got it all together.
No.
Okay, they don't. So we want to be gracious with people who are in leadership and have children as well. We want to be gracious with them. At the same time, question therefore is, how should you as a young person respond? Exactly like how you said. You can respond, first of all, one, you can understand this. That yes, you should be concerned about how other people are living, in the sense that you care about them. You want them also to be pleasing to Christ in the way that they live. But at the same time, consider yourself. It says in Galatians chapter 6, verse 1, I think. It says that if any man is overtaken with a fault, you who are spiritual should restore that man, and watch yourself too, lest you be tempted. And so there's a way in which, yes, you want to restore that person, you want to help that person. There's other way in which you're saying that I need to look at myself. And so you should proceed. Just keep going. Just keep serving. Pray.
Yeah, very important.
Pray for that person. Pray for that leader, that the Lord would kind of do in such a way, either where that person would change, or if they refuse to change, that the person would be out in that position specifically, not out of the church, or not throwing them in the backyard,
or their actions would be revealed,
or you know,
whatever it is,
there'll be some sort of curbing of the issue. I think oftentimes we love to talk before we pray.
Come on.
Come on. So we often do speak, because honestly, it takes love to pray for somebody. And let me tell you something. Some of you saints don't love them. You don't love them. Let's just be honest. You don't love them in the way you think you do. You think you love them in the way you do. And maybe you love them a little bit, but you don't love them enough
to pray for them.
Before you go to XYZ and talk about them. And so in addressing that issue, it's one that we want to address in grace and patience, love and respect. You need all. How many fruits of the Spirit are there? 9?
It's not it. The point is,
you need all
the fruits on the tree.
You need all the fruits of the Spirit for a situation like that. You need to, again, model how Jesus would deal with a situation like that. So I hope that helps somebody. Here's the next question. Oh, this is a big one, because this hits home for me. How can young people who are on fire for Jesus cope with feelings of loneliness in their local church environment? They feel like they are the only one who is pushing forward and wanting to give God their all. How would we encourage that person?
Since you say hit home for you, go ahead and hit the home one.
So I remember, and this is probably not gonna be the last question, second to last question, but I remember being, 14, 15, 16, feeling like I was the only one in my age group specifically, that loved God in the way that I did. And that feels lonely. Because yes, there's a lot of big people around you who praise in Jesus the way you praise in Jesus in church. But there's a way in which you want to see the people who are like you doing what you do with you and enjoying it with you. And so I felt alone. I felt alone. I think if I were to encourage somebody through that and offer some help, I thought of this before we started talking. Fight the good fight of faith. Okay? There's certain things you're just gonna have to push through. And also pray that the Lord would place people around you that can encourage you. I've prayed that prayer, and the Lord has been faithful to do so. See, I met people like Cidnie. So the Lord has been faithful to put people around me that I could connect with on a spiritual level, and just as young people. Yeah. So I think 1, keep on pressing, and 2, pray. We just want to take one more question before we close up. Just one more question.
Pregunta más.
One more.
I know I said that
question.
wrong. Don't judge me.
One more question. All right. So let's address this now. Actually, nah. Let's not do that one. Let's do this one. How can older Christians encourage or help young Christians to feel comfortable enough to share their burdens, sins, and concerns with them.
Beep. I'll take that for 200, Alex. I think somebody will only open up to you if you open up to them. You can't expect transparency if you're not willing to be transparent. Like, it would be hard for me to open up about my struggles and my, shortcomings with someone who isn't willing to share that same thing with me. If I'm gonna come and tell you, oh, I've been struggling with drugs and gambling or whatever, and you're just like, okay. It's like,
right.
Did you hear me? Like, did it just like came in one ear and flew out the next?
So the sense of care,
yeah, but just share with me, be transparent with me, and show me that you're not perfect too.
Definitely.
But that not only that, hey, I've made a mistake, but there's hope.
There is hope.
But you have to make sure you put the but. If you don't put the but, then it just defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah. I think that's important to say, because some people might go to the other extreme, meaning that they talk to young people about all the issues that they've ever had, but the young people have no basis for saying, okay, now I've seen now I know, I see how you think that is differently from what you were before. And so even that is the gospel. Telling somebody I was this, I did this, but here's what Jesus did. And I think probably maybe one of the barriers to that is pride. People not wanting to just be open about the things that they had done that they might be ashamed of.
Because they're still carrying around that shame.
Because they're still carrying the shame. They're still carrying the shame.
Carrying it,
Jesus has freed you from the shame, saints.
Come on.
He's freed you from the shame. It's okay. We've all had problems,
So you can just encourage them. First, be transparent, be willing to be open, and just let them know that there is hope, and check up on them. How are you doing? Since our last conversation, anything has been better? Just check
definitely.
up,
Yeah, follow up. All of that.
Follow up is super important.
Yes. So this conversation has been so fruitful.
It's a whole hour. A whole hour. I'm not mad though.
So guess what, guys? We had planned for it to be 50 minutes.
Jokes on us.
We thought.
We really thought. It's a whole hour. It didn't even feel like an hour though.
Yeah, it didn't.
It really
didn't.
didn't.
An hour passed, really. So we just want to close up. That's it. We're not gonna close in prayer.
It ain't no church service.
We love prayer, but we're not gonna do that.
We're not gonna do that. It almost sounded like
you're waiting for me to say close in prayer, right?
Let's dismiss in a word of prayer.
Oh my god. Okay, just thanks if you're watching this. Thank you for taking the time out to listen to us. If you watch this whole video, you're a real one. We're bigging you up, serious.
We really hope that you were encouraged, that you were partly entertained, because I think that we're funny.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
we're funny. And that for the young person, I hope that this was helpful in terms of addressing some of the things that you may have questions about. And for the older Christians, that it's an eye-opening discussion coming from two young people in the church.
Yeah, I'm pretty young, just saying.
Yeah, I'm not too old myself.
All right, so this is Young Shepherd, and Young Shepherd is here with Cidnie Spencer, and we're calling it night. Thank you so much for listening.
Bye. See you in the next video. We should totally do this again.
Yeah, for real. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. All right.
Very soon.
Later.
Bye.